What's up, guys? Welcome to NMD TV. Canes all day. If you're rocking with you, then you know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button so you never miss out on a video. Big shout out to the Kane Gang members. I appreciate you guys for going above and beyond to support the channel. If you want to be a part of the membership of the channel, then click that link in the pinned comments. Hey, check us out also on TikTok and Instagram. You can see the handle on the screen today. Mario was on the Joe Rose show. I didn't think he would be on there on a Tuesday morning. Well, he's talking about the college football playoffs. This article says the Mario Cristobal show a case to make the college football playoffs. Let's take a listen to what he has to say and react to it.
It is time to head out to the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. Shop hundreds of Toyotas indoors. One of America's largest showrooms at Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan, Joe.
All right, Woody, thank you, man. We've got head coach of the Miami Hurricanes, Mario Cristobal, between now waiting to find out what's going to happen. The ACC championship game, National Signing Day tomorrow. Coach, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Joe. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm doing great. And Coach, we'll just start with this, if you don't mind.
I hope Coach says, listen, the bottom line is we should have handled fucking business. The case of the matter is destiny was in our own hands, and we should have handled business. Now, unfortunately, that didn't happen, but just because we didn't handle business, you still can't take away from the positives that we did this season. And when you look at our resume, sitting at 10-2, two very close games versus two good opponents, Georgia Tech taking Georgia down to the wire. Syracuse now has won 9 games. Duke 9-3. Then I think just because we didn't handle business does not mean you get to discredit our whole resume. I hope he says that, something of that fashion.
Fourth, everybody's got an opinion on the play towards the end of the game, and I'm going to run it through with you and tell me. 4th and goal from the 10, a little under 4 minutes left. Your thinking on that? I know everybody, of course, we all have opinions on things that should do. Run me through your thinking as you get in that situation. You got Cam Ward, you got defense that's been struggling. You get a stop, you get it back. But just, if you would, run me through the scenario in that short period of time before you made that decision.
Yes, sir. Always process-oriented. 4th and goal from the 10 is a really, really low percentage conversion play, and we've relied all year on analytics, and it's been very good for us. And we did so there as well, thinking at 4 minutes with the ability to stop the clock 3 times. That's what it pointed to. So we went with it, and it didn't work out, but we've relied on it all year, and it's been good for us.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with us doing that because, like Mario said, we got 3 timeouts, and even if our defense gives up one first down, then maybe we can stop them on the second first down. If we get the ball, if we don't get the touchdown, then we're completely letting Syracuse off the hook. If we kick the field goal, Syracuse still has the pressure to run the ball, to do everything right. Unfortunately, our defense didn't get it done. What I don't like, and look, Mario, he's telling the truth. Look, if we've had a procedure the whole time throughout the year, then why would you change it? It has gotten us 10 wins. I'm not a fan of coaches and Mario talking about analytics. I'd rather you say, I've been coaching the game for decades. I've been in this situation a million times. I wanted to trust our defense to get the ball back, and they didn't do it. I hate coaches saying analytics, because if we're going to do everything by analytics, well, then what the hell are we paying you for? I'm not a big fan of the whole analytics things. We pay a coach. We like Mario Cristobal because he is who he is. He coaches the way he coaches. He recruits the way he recruits. If we just want to find somebody to go off analytics, then maybe we can save some money. But I didn't have a problem with him with the decision made. I'm just not a big fan of the whole analytics. Anytime something happens, it's analytics.
Yeah, I always, it's funny. I don't know this analytics thing because Coach, it's Mario. It's everywhere. I mean, you're not the. Everybody's got the analytics and numbers for everything. How much of being a head coach is now in the gut versus those numbers with a guy standing next to you going, "Hey, coach, fourth and goal from the 10, about 22% versus and going through all that stuff."
So you got to use both, and you also got to understand thematically like how things are done, right? Drop on the red zone. Certainly, the field is a lot wider than it is long,
right?
And the windows are a little bit more difficult to access. And the ability to have the clock stop 3 times with 4+. Well, at the time, I think it was 4:05. It wound down at 3:47 by the time the ball was kicked. That's what the decision was made for and why it was done. And that decision has been good for us in a lot of different instances.
Yeah, So anyway, that was part of the other part is you're playing against a team that could really throw it. Number one, I mean, you two are the top 2 passing teams in the country, and you get in a situation. Did you blitz enough? Were you more disappointed with the pass rush? Because the coverage actually a lot of times wasn't bad. Just guys couldn't find the ball or make plays physically against their receivers.
Yeah, well, it's a combination of things, Joe. I mean, sometimes we didn't communicate well enough, and at other times we were out of position, and sometimes they just flat out made a play.
Right.
Their passing game is very – the ball's out right now. They protect their offensive line. They get it out. The precision of their route running is really, really good. We had some early success in the first quarter, and then after that, it was spotty, and they made some really, really big plays. And we hurt ourselves with some penalties, some technique stuff, some fundamental stuff. But I always say it's got to fall on coaching and playing. And, we gave ourselves a shot at the end. And, heck, in 4 minutes we thought we could make them one-dimensional, too, at least get 2 runs out of them and put ourselves in a good third-down situation, which typically comes with that. Well, we never got there. They popped a couple runs, so all in all, certainly not a good day.
They bitched us. That's what they did. Mario, if you listened to us, they beat our ass offensively. Let me tell you what, I've been asked this a lot on Twitter and things like this. Is it the player's fault or is it the coach's fault? It's a little bit of both, right? Because as a player, O.J. Federico, when Damari Brown, Daryl Porter, the ball's in the air, you got to make a play. And then it's up to the coach to say, damn, our DBs are getting killed. How about I stop leaving them on the island? Guys, I have always been a blitz-heavy type of guy. I like my defensive coordinators to be aggressive. But we have 12 weeks of our defense giving up big plays. I would have loved to see our offense, once we were up 21-0, run the clock and run the ball. I went back and watched the game, and we were snapping the ball with 14 seconds left on the clock offensively. I would have liked to see us run the ball because we have an offensive line, because we have a Damian Martinez, a Mark Fletcher, and a Jordan Lyle, and because Syracuse is one of the worst defenses against the run. I'm not just saying anybody can do this. I'm saying this is why it made sense. And on defenses, I would have liked to see us say, look, you can run the ball and you can throw it short, but you will not beat us deep. The second half, they came out, deep ball, incomplete, deep ball catch, deep ball catch, deep ball touchdown. And 40 seconds is only run off the clock. Our corners are not good enough to be on an island. That's not new. I'm not a genius. So why don't our coaches know this? And why I just don't understand why. Listen, guys, I am one of the, I hate prevent defenses. I hate sitting back defenses. But what are our options? What were our options? And I understand if you come out and you say, you know what? I'm going to trust OJ. I'm going to trust Damari. I'm going to trust Daryl Porter. I'm going to trust Jaden Harris. But by time they got 14 points when they really should have had 21 points, but one of the penalties got called back, That should have been enough evidence to say, okay, seeing what I've seen the first couple quarters and seeing what I've seen all season, fuck it. Let's just play two back, a two shell, and say if you gonna beat us, you gonna nickel and dime us. And you know what happens? The quarterback has to be perfect. Guys, I'm sorry. I know I'm yapping, but this game, I am not over this Syracuse game. I am not over the fucking game. Kyle McCord, half the time, he wasn't even looking. He was saying hut and just throwing it up. He wasn't trying to pinpoint accurate. So he just said, I think Meeks will get it over Porter, over AJ. Just throw the shit up. Why not show him, man, and it really be cover two? Why not just drop back and look? If he picks us apart, that's one thing. But in the second half, it just became, oh my gosh, there's one-on-one coverage. Let's throw it deep. And then when we kick the ball to him, Quentin Allen bitched us.
So now you're waiting, watching SMU and Clemson in the ACC championship game. So my thinking is SMU beats Clemson. That's 4 losses. And then the question becomes, and, just watching all these shows and how everybody feels or is going to feel about a 2-loss Miami Hurricane team, what do you say to that group, Coach, as you now wait to see what happens here in these championship games?
Well, I think you say the reality. We've won 10 games this year, and not many teams have. And in our losses, those losses came down to one possession. That's a very different resume than the 9-3 team, And when you look at common opponents and some of those different programs, we do have some common opponents. One that we have been involved in more convincing wins against, or just teams that we flat out beat in terms of common opponents as opposed to others. And nowadays in college football, you see it every week. The margins are just really thin, man. They're really tight. And it's still about winning football games. And we won 10, and other programs didn't.
Preach it, brother. Preach it, Mario Cristobal. He said, look, we won 10. All y'all other busters won 9. That's where it should stop right there. But then if you want to go deeper, Miami lost to a 9-win team and then to Georgia Tech by a combined of 9 points. Alabama got beat down by Oklahoma because that's who they're comparing us to, Alabama. So you lost 3 games, and one of them was in embarrassing fashion where you could only put up 3 points. Oh, my gosh. Then you lost to Vanderbilt, a 6-6 Vanderbilt, where you had one of your players getting all mad kicking footballs. Your ass don't belong in the playoffs if you lost 3 games. I'm sorry. Miami should be in the playoffs if SMU beats Clemson.
The politicking, of course, for everybody, because I saw Coach Kiffin also saying the SEC is so strong, like 3 losses, and they're trying to get more teams in there because they're saying their competition every week is a lot better than your conference and other conferences. So it's going to be interesting to kind of watch this. What's your gut feeling when it's all said and done? Because there might be some 3-loss teams get into this thing in some of what they consider the SEC or the Big Ten conferences.
Well, I mean, I think that's why it should stay as football and not politicking. How many games have you won, right? At the end of the day, that's what stands out. And we can't allow football to become a political nightmare and jockeying for, the program when a program hasn't won as many games as another team. And the whole myth of this conference, that conference, that stuff has quickly gone away this year. And I think it was very evident in an 8-overtime game the other day in Athens, Georgia, with Georgia Tech. Really, albeit if not for a missed field goal or a really interesting pass interference play, all of a sudden they'll walk out of there with a pretty convincing win. So, and we had a chance to play against the SEC the last 2 years. Have been 2-0 as well. So I don't.
Hold on now, Coach. What did Coach just say? We had a chance to play the SEC, and we welcomed the SEC. In the last 2 times You saw a Miami Hurricane team face the big bad SEC. We walked away with what letter? W's. Talk to him now, Coach. Coach, preaching now. Now you're preaching to me, Coach.
I've coached in the SEC. I know what it looked like when Coach Nick Saban was the head coach, and it was dominated by two teams at that time. Well, that's not the case anymore. It's not. And the records show it, and the records and the games and the margins of victory and losses will continue to show that. There's more and legitimate parity right now. So the awards should go to the teams that are actually winning the games, not the ones that are politicking themselves out of losses.
I got to tell you, Coach, it was fun to watch this Cam Ward. And honestly, if I was to be really honest with you, he ended up being a lot better than I thought. The more I talk to NFL guys every week, I had no idea all the special gifts and what they see in him, even when he gets a little creative and sometimes it backfires on how now that you've been around a lot of guys, where do you rank this guy for a regular season? It may not be over, but from what he's done in the regular season.
No, he's been the absolute best. Again, the shame of it is we could have get the ball back one more time for him. The shame of it is we had a penalty that put us in, at the 23-yard line. But
right.
We certainly did everything humanly possible by him and for the rest of the team to put ourselves in a great position to win always. And all year long, man, a lot of people worked really hard to make it happen. And here he spearheaded an incredible regular season run, and he's just brought a lot of change from a culture, competitive standpoint to the program. And we're not done playing. We're awaiting our next opportunity, our opportunity to win an 11th and more games coming up. So he's been absolutely awesome and really the best I've been around.
Tomorrow's next.
Hey, salute to Cam Ward, man. And I did want to say this in some way, shape, or fashion. Cam Ward being amazing on the football field, he played way better than I thought he would, but that wasn't as much of a surprise as his mindset that he brought to this team. I mean, he brought a confidence, a hard-working effort. The stories you hear about him, getting the players together to train, telling players like, hey, I know y'all like to train on your own, but let's get together to train. And I just really hope the other quarterbacks in the quarterback room look at what he did off the field as much as what he did on Saturdays for us.
National Signing Day, and I know how this works. You can't give me names and all that stuff, but how do you feel about this recruiting class? You got guys you still feel are open. Can you give me a little generic breakdown?
We've worked like we always work, like insanely hard at evaluating and identifying, knowing that college football is a lot more fluid, right? More ins and more outs than ever before. And we're looking at guys that can, number one, obviously impact the program, guys that you feel great about in terms of retention, commitment to the program, high-level decision-making, stuff of that nature, and at the same time, making sure that we are prepared to access the portal in whatever way necessary to help the football program. So everything we've done since we've arrived has been elevate the program, and tomorrow will be another day of elevation.
I believe tomorrow will be a disappointment in the standard that Mario Cristobal has brought to Miami. His first couple years, top 10 recruiting classes. Unless there's a big surprise right now, it looked like we may be the 15th best class. And that's a little disappointing because Mario Cristobal is Mario Cristobal when it comes to recruiting and because of what he's already done here at Miami. And then you look at adding us winning on the field, and now you just got to hope that the players that we did get in this class, they're hits. And in a couple years, we don't feel the drop-off. But as for the standard that Mario himself has brought to Miami, I believe under that standard, under that guidance, under that the way that you're judging recruiting and stuff is going to be a disappointment.
What's that like? Last 24? It's a dead period right now, right, Coach? Is that right? You can't talk to guys?
No, you can talk to guys.
Oh, you can?
Yes. It's dead in terms of you can't have people on campus and you can't be at their homes and whatnot, but you could talk and you can communicate, and that's what you do. You make sure that you're getting honest, genuine conversations, agreements, Certainly, these are partnerships, right? Partnerships with entire families, and you find out a lot about yourself and how you're recruited, and you find out a lot about people as well. And hopefully, both sides have done a really good job in working together and being honest, so you could start this ever so important journey in the lives of these young men.
You know, Mario, this recruiting thing and the way it's set up. And by the way, even though a guy makes a verbal commitment to you, the other guys are going, I ain't stopping. You know, I'm gonna still keep working on aunt and uncle and grandma and grandpa there, and anybody else that might have something to do with this guy I really like. How much on a day like today, and you've been doing this a long time, leading up to tomorrow, what percentage of these guys do you feel really good about? You always have a couple of guys you're a little concerned, a little wishy-washy. How do you feel about this group overall, and could there be a couple of guys you could get to flip your way?
Yeah, you don't take anything for granted, especially now that there's money involved and access, right? And, at this point in time in the recruiting cycle, teams are going to one thing we've gotten away from, and I've gotten away from, and further and further into the career, is get away from the need to make a signing day splash. And stick more to let's make a program and game day splash, right? Let's make sure that we don't get involved in that, because at this time of year, people are going to overbid. They're going to really try to price you out just to make a splash and create momentum and fun and high fives. And you really got to assess, is it worth it, or are we better off investing in something else? So sometimes like fishing, you'll cut the line and go for another fish, and sometimes you'll reel them in and put them in the boat. And it all relates to, all right, what's it really going to look like on Green Tree? What's it really going to look like at Hard Rock? What's it going to look like when we go to different stadiums around the country?
Facts. And you have to – that may sound like an excuse, and I think a lot of people are going to say, well, Miami has lost a commit. They look like they're going to lose probably 3 commits this week. Mario's making excuses, but he's telling the truth. In my opinion, if we go overpay, I'd rather us overpay for a transfer portal guy with 2 years left with college film rather than us have a commitment for a guy. Then another school goes, they're giving you this much, we're going to give you this much. And then they want Miami to say, well, we're going to give you this much. Now, look. If the guy can have an impact like Ruben Bain, if a guy can have that type of step on campus, then maybe you go through the bidding war. But all these players are not worth the bidding war.
I choose OT, Lives,
Detective,
Free detergent, and
others. And we're proud to work alongside you, because every community deserves a financial partner who cares. Our Vest Bank. We believe.
Smelled and looked like.
And I also agree that it's.
Isn't that a little dangerous, though, when you start doing that without seeing a guy actually play at the next level before you get crazy with money? Would you agree with that, or is that just part of the business now?
No, I would agree with it, and I also agree that it's part of the business. It's going to happen more and more. I mean, it's the changes in college football have allowed essentially for open bidding, right? I mean, that's what it's become. There are still families that abide by the principles and values of choosing a place that's going to develop their son. And then there's going to be instances where that becomes a huge chunk of it, and it's at an all-time craziness. So in all the craziness, while everybody's losing their minds and losing their heads, you got to keep a steady and cool head and still assess like legitimate talent, character, right, work ethic, and find the dudes that are going to come in and continue to elevate the program. And you can't skip a season, you can't skip a cycle. You just got to keep going, and not spend any time focusing on the ones that maybe don't come to your program, and spend time investing in the ones that do come to your program.
Last one for you. How good's the talent? And I do so much on this high school football down there. How good's the South Florida talent this year?
It's excellent. It always is, and always will be. And sometimes it moves up in Broward and Palm Beach, and sometimes back in Dade. But there's always great talent, and there's great coaching. And we all know the coaches down in this area. They coach for the love of the game and to do right by the players, by the kids, because they certainly don't. They don't make much off of it. They don't.
No.
Their site is brutal, and it's something that the state has to address and change for the better. So hats off to them. They're always busting their butts and doing everything possible they can for these kids.
All right. You have any kind of gut feeling at all on chances And then we have to see what happens, obviously, in these championship games. Do you have a gut feeling one way or the other? I've heard certain people nationally say they should still be in. They got a sexy quarterback. They're a sexy team. They score a lot of points. Are good for business. And I've heard others say, nah, they messed up in the ACC. So how do you feel? What's your gut feeling, or is it just wait and see?
My gut is always go to the facts. We've won 10 games and other teams haven't. And for whatever it's worth, even though we've had our ups and downs on defense, our total offense and defensive rankings are both in the top 25. Offense number 1 and defense 24. There's 7 teams in the country, 7, that have that, And if you look, again, at common opponents and opponents that we dominated while others struggled to squeak by with 4 minutes left in the game, or other teams that lost to an opponent we played and had our way with them at their place, it's got to go to the facts. And these decisions go to the facts. Award football teams for winning football games.
Go to the facts. Keep your feelings out of it. Because look, only thing the people in the SEC want to talk about is Miami hasn't played any ranked teams. Well, Syracuse and Duke most likely will be ranked. But ranking teams is subjective, is it not? Because wasn't Florida State ranked at the beginning of the year? Wasn't Boston College ranked at the beginning of the year? So let's stick to the facts. We've won 10 games, only lost 2. And those 2 that we lost were barely. We got the high-powered offense. And I don't know how we got the 24th ranked defense, but we do. Shout out to Ball State and all them games that helped us out. But that's besides the point. The bottom line is, you lost 3 games. Shut the hell up. We've won our 2. We won 10 games. Let's see what happens if we stick to the facts.
Coach, thank you. I really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you, and good luck with the recruiting part. I know it's another big day tomorrow for you, so thank you.
Appreciate you, Joe. Have a good day.
It's James Kell from the Sleeper King